Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to this fireside chat sponsored by Intuit QuickBooks. I am Nate Burleson. This is sponsored by QuickBooks and Mailchimp. Now, some of you may know me as a former NFL athlete. I'm host of CBS Mornings, a studio analyst for NFL Today, also a host of NFL Slime Time on Nickelodeon. But I'm also CEO of a few small businesses. And I know the courage it takes to commit to that entrepreneurial journey, which is not easy. And we are going to touch on that from many perspectives. I am joined right now by a force of power, one of the most talented individuals in the business, a woman who has shown incredible courage, forging her own path in the entertainment world. She's a CEO of Ray Media. She is a talented writer, producer. She is a star in her own right, award-winning television series, Insecure, which we all love. And many of her films and projects that we recognize her from, she has created opportunities not just for herself, but for Black creatives in front of and behind the camera. Please give a big time welcome to one of the most talented individuals to grace our presence, Issa Rae in the building.
Thank you so much, Nate. Hello, everybody who I can't see. Really happy to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are going to jump right into it. Issa and I, we're going to be talking about how to walk that entrepreneur's path, which we know personally how difficult that can be, and what it takes to hit the summit of success. And we know that there will be some hardships along the way, and we will talk about a few of those that we have dealt with. Today is the first day of Black History Month, as we all know, in the United States and also in Canada. We're going to take a closer look at the challenges that Black-owned businesses have. Also, QuickBooks just commissioned a survey of 1,500 Black businesses and Black business owners in U.S. and Canada, and we'll be sharing helpful insights along the way. You can also find the survey and its resources in the section of the site below the video player, along with articles, videos, and other free resources that the QuickBooks blog can help start and run and grow your business. Now, of course, we want to welcome in all of the small business owners and entrepreneurs watching today. Many of you have submitted questions during the registration, and we're going to bring some of the small business owners to ask some of these questions in just a bit, which is great. We're really excited about that. If you have any questions for myself or Issa about being an entrepreneur, drop those in the chat, and we might feature them live during the show. You can also join the conversation on your favorite social media platform using the hashtags Acts of Courage and also Black History Month. Now, we must acknowledge that, I hate to say it, but like we've seen before, there's been tragedy in this country. I think we've all witnessed what has happened to Tyree Nichols. And first and foremost, thoughts to the Nichols family and friends and everybody involved. But it is tragic, and we all have dealt with trauma. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us. We don't want to just jump right into this without acknowledging some of the things that we have all seen. As we say that, we recognize when it comes to business and what happens outside of, there are challenges that we deal with. And we thank you. Thank you for joining us. So let's jump right into it. Issa, I wanted to start with a few questions about how you have achieved so much in both the creative space, but also as a leader, not just in front of the camera, but on the production side. Did you always know that you wanted to run your business, or was it something that just evolved over time as you had more demands creatively?
It's been a little bit of both. First of all, happy Black History Month. I did realize it is February 1st. But no, it's been a little bit of both. Since I was a little girl, my mom used to always say that I was bossy, and I wanted to have a business. Like, I wanted to have a briefcase. I didn't know what any of that meant, but I just knew I wanted to be official in some capacity. And then, the creative bug hit me, and I realized I love to write. I love to tell stories. And when I really started to pursue, writing and filmmaking in general, and started to create web series, I recognized, one, how challenging it is to build something from the ground up, and two, that I needed people to help. So the idea of being an entrepreneur always seemed scary because it feels so lonely and it feels so solo. And
Yeah.
so the need to run a business to support my creative endeavors, because you'll be broke for a long time if you're just pursuing writing. Like, you don't make money off of that. So to find a way to make money off of that, and to maintain a living was essential for me. And so as I started to pursue that more seriously, I recognized that I need to find a way to support myself and turn the creative into a business.
What would you say was your first entrepreneurial success?
I would say it's twofold. One, I'm very open about the fact that I get help and I need help. And so when I
Mm,
felt like I had a solid team, then things changed for me. So being able to find people to assist me that, I was also hopefully assisting in their journeys, was the first entrepreneurial success. And then the second one is when we were able to monetize the series.
mm,
So that came about from an idea from my colleague, who was just like, we need to do a college tour. People are watching this on the internet, but there's demand for people to see the show in person. So we should do screenings and have colleges invite us. And we were very simple-minded, I would say. Well, the idea was great. We were like, we'll just charge them $100 and room and board to bring us to their school and put it out there. And so like we had like 60 to 100 schools hit us up to be like, come out, come out, come out. And to me, I was like, I'm rich. Wow. We got to get $100 and room and board from all these schools. We'll sell merch there, all of those things. And then increasingly by like unfortunately, probably like the 20th or 30th school, this woman stopped me and was like, baby, you're charging $100. We just paid this poet at least $5,000, $10,000 to come out. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you need to be charging. And so when I
mm.
heard that, I felt duped, but that was the way in. And then colleges were paying us to screen the episodes, which was great publicity. And then I could now afford to live and afford to make more episodes because I had a means of income from these tours. So that was a huge entrepreneurial success, and it showed me what was possible.
I think that's a great lesson in your transparency, which is something that you've always been, is very transparent about the ups and downs, is, those aha moments where you realize like, damn, I'm worth more than this, or my value has changed and I need to charge more. Oftentimes when you're first starting any business, we have these issues with our own self-reflection when we go through mistakes. We're like, oh man, am I good at this? Are these mistakes a reflection of who I am? But that's just part of the journey. Like, you're going to take some lumps. You're going to take some L's. For me, I would think my first entrepreneurial success was creating a brand within the brand. I was drafted in 2003 to the Minnesota Vikings. And the one thing that the NFL does is they make you believe that that's the most important thing in the world. That's why players, they love the game and they'll run through a brick wall for their team. I'll bleed for these colors. You hear all those things. You walk into this locker room and it's like this new family that you got to ride or die for. And it works. Guys give everything to the game. But on the flip side, it's like a gift and a curse. Because you invest so much into just football, you forget about all these things that you want to do. I went into college as this individual that wanted to create businesses, that wanted to go on the TV, that wanted to write poetry, that wanted to go on the music. And I put all those things on the shelf because the NFL was like, no, chill. While you're with us, you're with us. This is exclusive. I think now professional sports has changed because there's so many talented individuals that are doing stuff off the court, off the field, off the tennis court, et cetera. But for me, I think it was creating a brand within the brand. The first time I launched a clothing line while I was playing, or opened a restaurant while I was playing, or started to help guys invest their money and launched an investment firm for athletes. That's when I realized, okay, I can do multiple things. We oftentimes look in the mirror and we tell ourselves that we're magical. Black people, we're magical. We can do it all. But then as soon as somebody tells you you have to do one thing, you're like, oh, maybe they're right. I realized that after I played in the league for 8 or 9 years, the light at the end of the tunnel was getting brighter and brighter. And as soon as they drop me off after my career is over, I better have a plan B, C, and all the way to Z. So for me, it was understanding that no matter how much I am invested in one thing, I can still diversify my interest because I'm trying to throw darts at the dartboard. And if I hit a bullseye more than once, that means I can have different streams of revenue once I'm done playing. Okay, so according to the new QuickBooks survey, 86% of Black businesses, they feel that they're judged more critically than non-Black businesses. And 82% said they code switch or act differently to avoid being stereotyped. Issa, how do you approach both of these types of pressures?
I mean, I think acknowledging them is obviously essential. I'm a Black consumer, so I know my mentality. I generally operate with wanting to support, and that's the mentality of my friends, my family. We always go in wanting to like, yeah, it's a Black business. I want to support. That's, of course, I want to support. And then if one thing will go wrong, you'll be like, oh, that's a Black business. So knowing that, that play out, I'm very conscious that we do have to go above and beyond, and we have to be super transparent in our journeys because people generally want to support us. Like that is without question. I hear that all the time of just like, we don't support our own, we don't support our own. No, we as Black people have a mentality that we want us to succeed. And I operate from that optimism and that knowledge. And so I never want to disappoint us. And so like there's never, I never have a too good mentality. I always want to please us. And so like with our approach, we just have to be super tight because we're all eyes are on us. And of course, we know that we often have to lead by example. We have to be the super example for many. And I don't take that lightly, but it's not anything I shy away from. I want to exceed expectations. I want to prove people wrong. Like that is what motivates me generally.
You know, you're spot on. You know, the idea of code switching, you know, it's something that's a hot topic in any space. And you know, I've always thought that unless you recognize the codes, you'll never know if you're switching or not. And unless you identify what your voice is, you'll never know if you're being authentic or not. Or you don't even know if you're conforming. And somebody from the outside might see you and be like, hey, yo, why won't you be yourself? You know, I have two examples of that. When I first got into TV, you know, I was a former player and I had these dreams of doing entertainment and politics, world issues, traveling all over the country, speaking. But it's a box they put me in. It's like, oh, you're a ball player, talk about ball. So initially I was like, all right, I'm going to be like some of the OGs that I know, like, you know, Deion Sanders or Michael Irvin, and I'm going to come through with the energy and talk with a little bit of grass and a lot of hand movement. You know, and shout out to my guys. Those are my dogs. Those are like big brothers in this business. But then I was like, nah, like I have a certain pacing. I have a certain rhythm. I've been writing poetry since I was in 7th grade. So that's how I speak. That's how I talk. And once I found my voice in sports, all of these other doors started opening up from entertainment to now doing CBS Mornings next to Gayle King. It allowed me to find my voice. But then once again, going into news is completely different. I had to either stick with what I know and what I'm rooted in and talk the way I talk, or, you know, kind of conform to what news people sound like. And I think I'm generalizing, not every person, of course, but there is a certain pacing and tone that people talk with. It's like, all right, tonight we have traffic on the 405 and we'll see what happens when we can clear up the roads. Make sure that you have your chains on your tires because it's gonna be a doozy. And
I believed every second. I thought I was watching this.
Right. And I had to tell myself, all right, you can either be that and see how long that lasts, or you can be yourself and have people become comfortable with you. So, you know, I think when it comes to starting a business, authenticity from the jump is important because it's better to have people adjust to who you truly are than you would try to adjust to what you think the needs of the people are. You're the best at being you. And when it comes to your business, that's what people identify with. You talk about supporting Black business, you know, you support the most authentic version of that. And that's what I think always travels well. I know for all entrepreneurs, almost every day requires the courage to keep going, to have confidence in your dreams. What do you feel like you drew your inspiration or your courage from when it came to doing what you do?
There was just an overwhelming, almost suffocating desire to tell a specific type of story. For me, it came down to fatigue and frustration of just knowing that there was more out there and constantly complaining and wanting others to take the action that I wanted to see. Like, this filmmaker doing this, why isn't this storyteller doing this? Why isn't this writer telling this story? Until it came down to, like, I have to do it if I want to see it, and can I do it? The doubt, the self-doubt crept in. And sometimes these goals feel so out of reach. And it was a matter of just kind of talking myself into it and starting small. Like, I think I did have big ambitions of just, I want to be on television and film, and it's very competitive. It's hard to even just break in. And so for me, starting small meant creating a short film, or helping to write someone else's movie, or then ultimately creating the web series that would launch my career. But creating these little milestones and checking those off continually gave me the courage to know that, like, I could do it. If I could achieve this step, then maybe I could do the next one. And so breaking it down into bite-sized pieces was essential to building the courage and the bravery to just go for the big thing. But there are always going to be reasons to talk yourself out of it. There are always going to be obstacles and people often to discourage you. But I love what I do. And when I always think about the job, the plural, that I worked at, that I just hated, that I was miserable at. And I want to touch on something you said earlier, like, even with the NFL, right? Like, that's a job. There's so much time that you have to invest in that. And I think for many other entrepreneurs, like, we have those main jobs that are sustaining our living, and so much of the courage is about taking that leap to put that behind you, and to make your passion or your business your full-time focus. And that can take time, and you have to give yourself the grace to do that and carve out those little moments to be able to say, okay, I have my 9 to 5, but from 6 to at least 7, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to write, I'm going to make this happen. And then those hours will widen, and until you're able to say, bye job, I'm going to make this my full time.
Now, you said something that was really powerful. It's taking that leap and having that courage to take that leap, which it's scary. It really is. No matter how confident you are, no matter how long you've been thinking about it, even if you think it's your calling and you just know deep down inside this is what you're supposed to be doing, to take a leap of faith is tough, especially when your life is on the line and money's on the line, and roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table. All of that is hanging in the balance. So for CBS Mornings, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it fits right here. We did something called Never Too Late, which is basically at any age, you can do something that you've always wanted to do. Vlad, he was a samurai swordsman. Tony, who doesn't like to dance, he was taught how to dance professionally. Gail loves to sing. She says she's not a good singer, so she went into the studio. Me, as I was talking with my producers, I was like, well, I'm scared of heights. I've always been, I would jump out of a plane. I was really BSing. And then they were like, nah, we can make that happen. Okay. So then I kept trying to delay it and push it off. And then finally they were like, yo, it's time. Remember that piece we're doing? Yeah, we're going to North Carolina, to the Army base, the Golden Knights. These guys do this for a living. You're jumping out of a plane. Now, I was nervous, but on the outside, typical male, typical former athlete, I'm playing it off. My ego won't let anybody see the anxiety and fear in me. And this is what I want to get to about taking that leap. So I get on that plane and we're climbing, and it's like 2,000 feet. I'm looking down. I'm like, oh man, now my stomach is feeling a little funny. I'm like, hey, yo, this is a good height. It's not that bad. They're like, no. We got to go up 10,000 more feet. And I'm like, what? So we climb. Now they open this door. We are 12,000 feet in the air. Now, at this point, cameras are on the plane, got cameras on the ground. you know how it is, you work in TV, they spend money, it's a production. I'm like, Nate, you gotta jump, bro. You can't tell them to land this plane. You can't be that guy. So while I'm walking to the door, and this is what I mean about what you said when you have all these obstacles. Sometimes it's not other people, it's yourself. Yep. As I'm duck walking to this door, my body was sending me every signal in the world not to jump. Every signal. Smart. Now, I didn't eat that morning. I didn't have any fluids in my stomach. So my stomach was empty. My bladder was empty. As I'm walking, this is the conversation I have with my body. I'm like this. Just breathe, man. You're good. Just breathe. And my body's like, wait. You have to go pee. I was like, no. I don't have to go pee. I have nothing in my bladder. No, Nate, listen to me. Listen to us. We have to go pee. Stop. Go back and sit down. I'm like, nah, you good. We don't have to pee. I keep walking. My body's like, wait. You gotta go poop. Let's go. Let's go back down. Let's go poop. You'll be good. Let's think about this. And I was like, no, I'm good, man. I don't have to poop. We're good. We're about to jump. We're good. And then my body was like, no. You gotta throw up. I know you feel like you gotta throw up. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I have to throw up, but I don't have to throw up. I was like, stop talking to me. I don't have to pee, poop, or throw up. I'm jumping out of this plane. We're jumping out of this plane. Literally my conversation in my head. I get to this door. At that point, my toes are hanging over and I'm out. I'm floating above the earth. And I think in that moment, among this transformative, like cascading float down to the ground, I realized like oftentimes the thing that gets in the way of the stuff we want to accomplish is our own fears. Yeah. And that voice and that whisper becomes louder as the fear grows bigger. And we have to quiet ourselves in order to accomplish what we want. So I have to share that real quick. All right, so we have an important follow-up to that. Brittany in the chat, how do you incorporate rest in your journey?
I've gotten so much better about incorporating rest. When I know as entrepreneurs, as soon as you get that wind of like success and the promise of, you know, your business booming, you want to say yes to every opportunity. You want to say yes to every meeting. Everybody could lead to an opportunity to make your business more successful. So for me, those first couple of years of success, I was drained because I was saying yes to every meeting. I was like, yeah, I'll meet on the weekend. Yeah, I'll meet on a Sunday. Yeah, I'll do this. Yes, I will go to this shoot. Yes, I will make this happen for this deadline, because you just don't want that to go away. You don't want anything to impede like what you can see in your future for success. And so lately, I've gotten better about that. I think a couple of years ago, post Shonda's year of yes, I was like, this is gonna be my year of no. Like I really have to focus, because I was taking so many meetings. Like as a creative, the way that your lifeline is being able to create new things. And yeah. I looked up at the end of 1 year when I had created nothing new, and I was just in service to other people. And I was like, I'm here and I haven't created anything to attract new customers, to attract a new audience. So what am I doing? I wasted time. And, you know, I made great connections, but at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. So for me, in that year of no, I've just been more regimented about when I'm taking these particular meetings and doing things for other people. And then also when I'm creating new things. And then I will block at least one day for me. Like that is just a day where I will do nothing. That also serves as my procrastination day, because I think, you know, we all work hard, but procrastination is my disease often. And I live with it. So I have to like succumb to it someday. And then when I'm done with it, then I'll go back to work. But I think trying to deny procrastination only makes things worse. So I rest and procrastinate in the same day. And it's been working for me for a couple of years now.
That's good. I definitely know the plight of having to say yes to everything, because you just feel like you have to take advantage. And then you have momentum and you're like, I got to keep this momentum going. And there's this power you feel. You're like, I'm saying yes, and I'm a superwoman. I'm killing it. I'm doing it. But then you feel depleted. You know, you have to charge that battery up, because if you don't, it's going to put you in a bad position. You know, I am a guy who I just go. But I also give myself windows of time. You know, I'm 41. So when I'm 50, there's certain marks that I want to hit from a business perspective, financial perspective, That way I can rest. I will say this though, when I first got into TV almost 10 years ago, I had the energy. I was young and I could run with the bulls. But now I know myself, as we like to say in football, know your personnel, know your person, and know how much you can give before it starts to work as a detriment to whatever it is you're building. All right, so now we want to focus on what you want to know about being an entrepreneur for everybody who's listening. So we took a look at your excellent questions and picked 5 people to ask questions live. First up, we have a couple from the Greater Toronto area. T. Dot in the house, Desai St. Hilaire and Clinton Redhead are co-founders of the Sea Moss Guy, a wellness brand that sells sea moss from the Caribbean or Caribbean, depending on how you say it. Desai and Clinton, you guys there? How you doing?
Hi, Nate. Hi, Issa.
How's it going, guys? How's it going?
We're
good.
Our question is for both of you. We're wondering, what are some mistakes that you made as entrepreneurs that you wish you could have avoided?
My mistake was in team building. You know, sometimes I think you can be so focused on what your mission is that you can forget that there are other people who have missions of their own. And to make sure that you're nurturing that as a leader, my biggest challenge has been, you know, curating the right team, but it's also been my biggest blessing. And I've learned the hard way to make sure to check in. You know, sometimes I can be inconsiderate in that way of just like, oh, I haven't like checked in on this person's family. I haven't made sure that they're set up, and I haven't checked in with, you know, whether or not the path that we're on aligns with their goals. And that's led to, you know, some confrontations, and, you know, I regret those because I did truly care about those people, and because I didn't have the foresight to be like, check in and make sure that we're aligned, I lost some people along the way.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, it was similar. Rush before research. Like in football, it's all about how fast you can score a touchdown. You know, the quickest way to the end zone is the best way to the end zone. And there's a lot of things that I thought parallel what I was doing outside of the game. And it was like, I got to score as soon as possible. And there's always a phone call and an email to get back to. And I would feel this like pressure to respond to everybody and be everything that everybody wanted me to be, not knowing I could take my time. Like what I realized, there's always going to be deadlines. There's deadlines every day. And if you don't call somebody back, if you don't take a little bit of time to yourself to research what you want to say or what your response should be or how you should roll out your product or how you should roll out yourself, then you're going to feel rushed. And whatever you're doing is going to feel unfulfilled. So I know it seems like the clock is ticking, always seems like the clock is ticking, but you have more time than you realize. I say be patient, be diligent, and be ready as you can be. Because what I've realized is confidence comes in how ready you are. You know, and the one thing we don't want to do is roll out anything, roll out a product, roll out our sales, roll out our brands, if we're halfway confident in whatever we're putting into the world. So that's my opinion. And Issa, I definitely feel you on that. Desai and Clinton, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. And shout out to Canada. I'm going to be up there soon. I'm right in New York, so I'm going to pull up on you, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Of course. Okay, so next we have Jessica Spalding. Jessica runs a Harlem chocolate factory in New York City, a company that makes gorgeous chocolate. Welcome, Jessica. What is your question? Do we have Jessica?
Yep. Hey, sorry. My question is, I think it fits right in what we were talking about. So I noticed as I grow my business, that the team is the most important part. And I am trying to find what are some innovative ways that you guys look to grow your team on a strict budget.
Ooh, the barter system. So like for
There
example,
we go.
for me, giving you this advice, I feel like it's only right that you send me chocolate, right?
Oh, I got
Right.
you. I got you straight up.
But I think it again goes back to making sure that the people that you're working with can see their future in your vision. and to also trust that you're going to help them get there. A lot of my conversations have been like, look, I don't have the money to pay you right now, or I only have this much. But no, as soon as we get this milestone, like, I got you. Whatever we need to discuss, like whether it's a handshake contract, a verbal contract, I just need you to trust me. And I've always made good. I've never made, like, if anything has come up, it's because, you know, the business hasn't worked, but I've never made a dime and not, you know, consider the people who have been along with me for the ride. And I think it's just being very transparent. People respect when you tell them like it is, and they know that you're being upfront with them. And when they can also celebrate those wins with you down the line, it's essential. But also, again, keeping tabs on, like, well, what do you want to get out of this? By when? How can I help you get there? What services do you need from me in trade for your services? And how can we build a timeline towards that?
Issa, spot on. Just offer those as incentives that might not be readily available, because they're not empty promises if the brand eventually becomes profitable. And everybody loves chocolate, so you can also just, you know, give a little chocolate away. But like I said, I'm in New York, so you have to send me the chocolate. I'm pulling up.
To see you.
I don't know about Issa. I'm pulling up to Harlem. All right.
You get to Harlem, yeah, I'll be there. I'm in Harlem all the time. Absolutely. What's it called?
Harlem Chocolate Factory.
Oh, duh. Okay, great. Amazing.
There we go. Thank you so much, Jessica. We appreciate you. All right. So next up, we have Femi Oyediran, is a co-owner of Graft, a wine bar in Charleston, South Kakalaka. He's also sommelier. Welcome, Femi. What's your question?
Yeah. My question is for the two of you, actually. You know, you both are known for multiple wins in your career. After you achieved your first success or many successes, how did you motivate yourself towards new goals and avoid becoming complacent?
I think, well, for me, Nate, I don't know about you, but like, once you get that first success, I feel unstoppable. There's like, there's a thought of like, oh wow, what can I do? And I never want to be limited. Like, that was my fear when the Awkward Black Girl popped. I was like, this is incredible, I can do this. But I also had this fear of only being known for that, because, you know, I was trying to create other shows and pitch other projects, and people just wanted that from me. And so to Nate's earlier point, people will tend to put you in a box based off of your success in one area. And I never want to ride on like my last thing. I'm always thinking about, well, what else can I do? What else can I accomplish? Just because that is what drives me. So becoming complacent with success, you can, it's an option, but I guess for me, there's just a restlessness that exists and a curiosity of just what else I can accomplish.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, goals change, and as you accomplish a goal, you realize like that goal is just leading you to a bigger one. So know how to differentiate your vehicle from your destination. So take a ride with me as I paint this picture. I think it's something we can all identify with. All right, so we've all been in like those car share rides, right? Like an Uber, you know what I'm saying? You order a nice Uber, you know it's gonna pull up, it looks nice on the outside. You get in the vehicle and it's as nice on the inside as it is on the outside. You comfortable, you in the back. I mean, it's smelling good. And I'm not talking about like black ice air freshener good. I'm talking about like grandmama's potpourri good. You know what I mean? Like, you know, our grandma used to have them twigs and the little sticks and the herbs, all the little stuff from Narnia she used to have in the living room. Like that type of scent is hitting your nostrils. And then they got the snacks. They got snacks everywhere. They got candy, gum, they got honey buns and Snapples. You know what I mean? It's like a backseat bodega. You feeling real comfortable. You good. And then the aux. You don't even have to touch the aux. It's like the music inside this Uber is perfectly curated for your soul. I say all that because it seems like the perfect ride. We've all been in those Ubers like, what's lit in here? He getting 5 stars. She getting 5 stars. We vibing. But even with all that, we don't stay in the vehicle. We always get out at a destination. Always. So what happens is we accomplish a goal And we get so comfortable in that goal for a split second. Now it's up to you to either just relish in it and stay in it a little too long, or to use that goal as a vehicle, no matter how comfortable it feels, to get to the next destination. And like Issa is saying, like when you start to knock down goal after goal, there was something, it's like a natural steroid. You become a bigger, stronger, more powerful version of yourself. And that's how you slowly but surely dominate the space you're in, and then monopolize whatever market you want to. So that's how I feel about, not getting complacent. Femi, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for tapping in.
Thank you.
The QuickBooks survey found that 95% of Black business owners in the U.S. view their success as important for future generations of Black entrepreneurs. And you've been instrumental in doing that and launching the careers of many Black creatives in the entertainment industry. So we want to welcome Ashley Rouse from Trade Street Jam to ask a question. Hi, Ashley. What do you got?
Hey, Nate. Hey, Issa. Nate, I loved your Uber reference just now. And that was really good. And I couldn't help but think of Issa driving Uber on Insecure. It just made me laugh. I just had to say
Listen, that didn't happen by accident. You know what I mean? I made the connection.
But my question is, whether you have a big platform like the both of you do, or a smaller circle of influence, how can we each individually help to support the next generation of Black business owners?
Ooh. I think there's just a natural curation element. I'll give you the example of, we have a coffee shop in Inglewood, and Inglewood for the longest time has had a dearth of coffee shops. And for me, it was just really important to have a space to work and to have a space of community. And then, there was another coffee shop that was opening at the same time, another Black-owned coffee shop, Black women down the block. And I think the natural instinct would be to feel competitive. If anything, I felt like that just allowed more spaces for us. Like it was a period of joy. First of all, 2 Black-owned businesses in Inglewood, that was already rare. And there's no reason why we couldn't support one another. When I had an unscripted show, not only did I feature my coffee shop, Hilltop, but I featured their coffee shop because it just, it makes people excited about the neighborhood, and I'm not losing anything by their gain. And that's a similar business. So if it's not a similar business and I want to see your business succeed and I want to make sure that other people know about it, I'm going to do everything that I can to promote your business, whether that's flyers in my own business or, having a joint collaboration where it's like, you got me this week on promotions, I got you next week. We have such a vested interest in our own success that nobody else has as a people, that I think it's so important to take advantage of that. Like I said earlier, I think that our baseline is that we want each other to succeed, no matter how others may paint that, and to use that to help each other succeed truly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've always felt like every entrepreneur starts with this dream, whether you literally dream it up, you wake up in a cold sweat and you're like, I got to do it, or it's just something you've been dreaming about your whole life. And we're often reminded on Black History Month that Dr. King had a dream, so it's fitting. But the reason I bring that up is because I would say don't sell dreams to dreamers, because you have young people or people of all age that are trying to create a brand, a business, trying to do something bigger than what they're doing. And they meet people in certain spaces. And, people have come to me in complete sincerity, like, yo, Nate, like, can you help me out, man? All I need is this, or I need a stamp of approval. And there's this obligation you feel because you're like, damn, I made it and people helped me out before, so I got to help out. But then you have to be realistic. You can't always stretch yourself too thin because it's going to put you in a bind. So we have to be aware, and I'm speaking for myself, like you have to be aware, like who you're talking to and if you can help them out and what that looks like, and make sure you're clear about that, because selling dreams to dreamers will leave them hopeless. And I think, you know, that's what I heard once a long time ago, dreams are free, so don't try to sell them to me. So I'm always aware of like what I say and how I say it. And I can't say that I've always been, I've always had this hyper awareness. You know, as I got older, I realized, like, you know, words are powerful. And if I meet somebody or they slide in my DMs and they send me a message and I say, yo, I'll look out for you, or I'll come on your show, or, you know, I'll pump up your brand, or I'll pull up to your event, I should do it. I should do it. And I think that just helps people along the way. And it gives them the hope that they can reach out and touch some of the people that are in the same space doing big things. Ashley, thank you. That was a good question. We appreciate you. Finally, we have Cheryl Sutherland from Please Notes, a company that sells guided gratitude journals and other affirmation feel goods. Hi, Cheryl. How you doing? What's your question?
Hi, last but not least, shout out to Sienna Naturals. I gotta plug that. So excited to be here. I have one delicious last question, and this is for Issa. When you first got the green light for Insecure, you had to push back a lot to make sure you got your vision. Having conversations with people has always been difficult for me when it comes like in regards to like power dynamics, but how did you decide what to compromise on? And in what way did you choose to communicate your non-negotiables?
Ooh, I mean, I relate to you so much because I generally am a non-confrontational person, and I found that often I was a people pleaser to my own detriment, and I started to realize that when I would see like the products that would come out of that, or the projects that come out of that, and to me, there is nothing more frustrating than knowing I could have said something and didn't. Like, I can't blame anybody but myself. If I knew this the whole time and I knew I didn't want this the whole time and I didn't speak up, who can I get mad at but myself? And so I think a couple of those things happened where I was just like, I don't have to be mean about my delivery. This is my only project. These people are gonna leave here and be on to the next one at the end of the day. And I'm gonna be stuck here, you know, seething inside because I'm not expressing that, you know, I want this to be shot in a certain location, even though it costs more money, but this is the show you bought, you know, or I want this particular costume designer, even though she doesn't have experience, but I know she can do the job better than this white woman that y'all want to hire, you know? And I think those types of things, like I would honestly practice and write down how I could diplomatically approach that conversation. Nobody had to know that I did that, and that I was writing and practicing like how to deliver this and building up the courage. But I always also present things as a dialogue. Like I just want to express this, and if there's any pushback, you know, I'd love to just talk through it. But I never approach things in a combative manner to this day. And I want people to know that, you know, I respect their opinions and everyone can be heard, but this is just important to me. And I think you get a couple of, hey, this is really important to me cards that you get to pull. But those have been just some of my approaches, practicing, you know, outlining what my priorities are and watching my tone, because that matters.
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, you can get whatever you want to off your chest in a way that's digestible to somebody else, and you can get the end result that you're searching for. That's for sure. Cheryl, thank you so much for that question. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Finally, in the QuickBooks survey, over 55% of Black-owned businesses in Canada and the US have been denied a loan at least once. This is a question that we got from so many of you in registration. How do I grow my business if I don't have the funding? What would you say, Issa? And I know this is a very layered question. There's so many variables, depends on the space that you're in, what your business or brand really is. But I guess in a general sense, what would be your advice?
My general advice is to, I mean, honestly, tap into the resources around you. It goes into what I mentioned earlier about like that old school bartering system. For me, it came down to, one of my first sources of funding came from my brother's friend's dad. He just needed someone to film the talent shows at the school that he taught at. And
wow.
He paid whatever, $150, $200. And I determined that, like, okay, whenever I would do a job for this person, one, I would ask for the camera to be able to also film my own productions. And or I would put the funds that I would make from this particular job to this particular project. But it is finding out like how you can offer services to the people around you. So it's not like you're asking for free money, because I was denied loans all the time. I also had a lot of credit card debt, which I don't advise. But like it just came down to kind of asking people to invest in you through the tasks that they needed, the services, whatever it is. And if they wanted to contribute financially, and believed in your vision enough that you could sell, which happened on occasion for me, then just making sure to deliver it. Because I think when people see that you're doing something and you're serious and you're actively making things happen, that's what ultimately attracted some of the team that I have today, is they saw that I was serious about the project and seeing that I was doing as much as I could on my own. And then eventually, you know, they would be like, hey, do you need lighting? Hey, and then we were able to like start a Kickstarter to have funding. But the first step is obviously doing the work and showing people that you're serious, and people will support.
See, Issa, we on the same page right here. My notes right here is the first thing you said, use your resources. Mine says, make your net worth your network. You know what I'm saying? So make your network your net worth. And that's using those resources, tapping into those resources. Listen, a no is something we don't want to hear, but it doesn't hurt when you hear it. So ask people. You'd be surprised, you know, how many no's you may hear before you get that big time yes. That might help you with a lot of the stresses that you're dealing with.
And then also give. While you're asking, make sure you're giving, because that's a big thing too. Like you can't just take. Make sure that, you know, if you're seeing that your homie or your friend's aunt is out there in need, whatever you can give, do it. That's going a long way too.
That's deep right there. And also be relentless. Like, listen, we've all started somewhere. The grind is real. Don't get me wrong. The grind. I remember when I first got to New York after I got done playing, and I was saying yes to everything. Like Issa was saying, yes, I got you. I can do that. I can do this. I wanted to show I was the most versatile former athlete ever to grace the TV screen. And then one day I woke up and I had these little small patches missing in my beard. And then like a month later, I was butt, baby, booty, bald, naked on my face. I'm talking about no hair. And you know how weird it is for a Black man to have no hair on his face and a head full of hair. And I was like, all right, I need to go to a dermatologist. I went to the dermatologist, turned to a therapy session. She was like, so what's different in your life? I'm like, you know, I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, and life is different. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. I got this new show. And I also took on a few other jobs. I'm a full-time husband, full-time father. I have 3 other businesses that I'm juggling. And she's like, oh yeah, you're stressed out because of work and you want to be good at that. And I'm like, no. I used to play football. So I went on this whole like story of my football life. I'm like, I used to play ball and I was in the NFL and I used to shake these big guys that would try to break me in half. And she's like, yeah, as you're describing football, you have a smile on your face. So you love that. But when you were talking about work, you weren't smiling. So you're stressed and your body is reacting. So I was putting in that work, boots on the ground, grinding. I bring that up not for you to feel sorry for me. It's not a woe is me story. It's just that I know I put the hours in. I know I put the work in. There's long nights, early mornings that people don't know, which I'm fine with. But it gave me the confidence to move forward, knowing that I'm skilled for this moment right here. So you have to be relentless when you're starting your business. For somebody who's like, yo, I want to be the dopest local brand or local business in the area, but haven't put their feet on the ground and walked 10 blocks to knock on every door, like that doesn't coincide. So like, you know, your actions have to reflect your energy. You know, we always say, keep that same energy. Yeah, whatever your lofty goals are, keep that same type of energy in the grinding stage. And then once you get out of it, of course, you can relax and dial it back a little bit. All right, so there are so many questions that we didn't get to, but we're almost out of time. So Issa, I want to ask if you have any final words or inspiration for people to take with them for the rest of 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that sometimes, you know, we can see the entrepreneurs next to us and their journey seems seamless. And it seems like they're accomplishing the goals on their list a lot faster than you are. And this is such a long-term journey. I was just reading about Telfar, how they were founded. And I think either 2003 and didn't become profitable until 2017. And I'm not saying that is your journey.
Right.
You have to be willing to make that sacrifice and have that passion for what you do, because it is going to consume your life. And despite the stresses that I have on a day-to-day basis, I'll still talk about it with a smile. Like, if I saw your therapist, she'd know that whenever I talk about what I'm doing, no matter how painful it is still the only thing I would rather be doing. And if you don't feel that way about what you're doing, or if you don't feel that way about your business, then maybe reconsider. But if you do, just know that it will be worthwhile in the end.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it was Trinidad James who said, "Don't believe me, just watch."
My favorite motto.
There's a lot of people that ain't gonna believe, but just sit back and whisper that to yourself, whisper that to them. And then once you make it, you can move on with your chin held high. Believe in yourself. I launched a media company a few years ago, which I'll create some content, a couple of documentaries and some scripted and non-scripted stuff. It's called Watch. And I named it that because of the acronym, We Are the Culture House. And I want everyone to understand that we are not participants. We are not paying rent in the culture. We are the culture. So make yourself at home. Get comfortable in your space. We are in this house together. And right now, yeah, you might have the guest room, but eventually you'll move into that big master suite with the walk-in closet and the shower and the dual sinks. Like, just project that and make sure you guys continue to have that confidence. There's a lot of opportunity out there, a lot of money out there. We just got to go put our name on it. Issa, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And if you haven't heard it today, you are one of the most talented and brightest stars we have, not just in the entertainment industry, but what you have done for our culture and the way that you represent yourself. It is something powerful to see. I have some beautiful Black women that are in my life, but I also have a 12-year-old daughter, and I can look outside my home and point to women like you and say, she's one of them ones that you should pay attention to because she's doing it the right way. So thank you so much for not just joining us today, but everything you are doing. And with what you have accomplished already, I can't wait to see what you're going to cook up for the next few years.
Thank you so much. It was truly a pleasure to talk to you. And I learned so much just even from what the gems that you dropped. So much appreciated. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Of course. For more information, including the QuickBooks survey of U.S. and Canadian Black businesses, small businesses, check out the QuickBooks blog, which you can find in the resources tab on this page. Let's keep this very important conversation going on social media using hashtags Acts of Courage and Black History Month. Speaking of that, Black History Month isn't just about this month. We should all have this same type of energy and support for each other and the culture all year long. And a final huge thank you to all of you, because we wouldn't be here without you in so many ways. The entrepreneurs and small businesses out there, whether you have already started your business or you've got your dream ready to go, thank you for your excellence, your hard work, and of course, your courage. We appreciate you. Y'all have a good one.